from the Stitchery. I'm here today with a box opening of my new dies. And then we're going to do some test dies in my kitchen and just see what the colors look like. I haven't bought these specific colors before, so they're new to me. I don't think I've mentioned this in a video before, but I'm in the process of setting up my shop so that I can start selling dyed yarn and hand spun yarn and finished scarves and hats. So I'm trying to get a little bit more professional in my process for doing the dye work so that I can repeat my results as close as possible. But part of that was I wanted more colors, so I ordered a nice big box of colors, and there's also a bag of citric acid in here. My husband is convinced that when he dropped the box something broke, but I think he probably just heard the citric acid, so we'll see. Hopefully nothing broke, because I'm not currently wearing a mask. I could, but then you couldn't hear me. Come on. It's that fiber tape. I hate that stuff. There we go. Alright. There are packing peanuts in here, so I already don't think anything could have broken. And, okay, they're wrapped in plastic, so no worries there either. So, we've got Dharma Deep Magenta and Spearmint Breeze. And a little collection of Jacquard colors that I didn't have yet. So Russet, Purple, Violet, Scarlet, and Gunmetal, which is like a blue-gray, I think. They look cool, so I bought it. Trying not to drop the peanuts. There we go. Okay. And we've got Dharma Caribbean Blue, Frozen, Fluorescent Lemon, Bright Aqua, Fluorescent Safety Orange, and Fluorescent Fuchsia. And a pound of citric acid because I'm almost out and it takes a while for my bulk amount of it to come. I think that's it. I'm just trying to see if I have a receipt. I do. Need to start saving these. Alright, cool. So I have 8 skeins of yarn ready to dye. Now I realized as I was getting ready to film this that if I'm going to do this professionally and like with repeatable results, I'm going to need to get a new scale. Sorry, I dropped something. I need to get a new scale because the one I have, the lowest it will measure is 1 gram, and I need to measure half gram amounts for some of these skeins. Let me back up. So I've been like obsessively watching Chemnit's channel, and one of the things she talks about is the 1% depth of shade. I think that's how she phrases it. So 100 gram skein, you would use 1 gram of dye. I think, yes, pretty sure that's right. So my skeins, some of them are 100 grams, but half of them are 50 gram skeins. So I would want to use half a gram of dye, but I can't measure half a gram of dye. So they're just gonna have to deal with my best efforts. So I'm gonna go move the camera to the kitchen and we're gonna get started. We're gonna do 3 skeins in the steam pan, and then I have 5 skeins we're gonna do in jars. Just so I don't know. These are new to me dye bases too, so I'm not totally sure how they're gonna handle it, but the 3 that are superwash, we're gonna do in the larger pan, and then the 5 that are not superwash, I'd prefer to do in jars because that's just less agitation and they'll be a little safer. So I'm gonna go set up the camera. We'll be right back. Okay, so I double checked, and yeah, the smallest it'll go is 1 gram, and oh, I guess I never took the film off this. Let me remove that. There we go. But that's okay. We'll just only do 1 gram. So I'm going to measure out the dye for everything into jars. For the ones that are being, done completely in jars, that's fine. But then we'll use smaller jars to pre-mix the dye for the 3 skeins in here before I put that on the heat. Then once it's on the heat, we'll start adding the dyes. So I decided to do the Dharma colors because I have 8 of those and 8 skeins of yarn. So that should work out perfectly. The only thing is, since the smallest amount I can measure is 1 gram, the 50 gram skeins are gonna have too much dye in there. So I might have to add a little bit of scraps just to soak up extra dye because I don't want to, you know, waste any. So we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna go into time lapse. So we're just gonna get that all done, and I'll pull my mask up. So yeah. One. I think we had a pretty successful dye day. So up top we have the 8 skeins of yarn that I dyed up. Over there is the 3 skeins of bulky superwash that I dyed in the rectangular style restaurant pan. And then those 5 over here are all dyed in jars, with the largest skein being dyed in the largest jar and the others just being in standard mason jars. Now, with all of these, because of the issues with my scale, I way over measured my dye. I think I ended up with 2 ounces, I mean not 2 ounces, 2 grams of each color instead of 1 or less of each, 1 gram or less of each color like I was trying for. So what I did with the extra dye is I've been buying bags of spinning fiber from the local mill. This is wool silk there. I used the leftover dye from those top 3 tropical skeins to dye that. And then with the leftover dyes from the other skeins, although the largest one didn't actually have any leftover dye, but the rest of them, I poured it over some superwash wool down there, about 8 ounces. And the colors did come out really interesting. You can pretty much see on the 3 tropical ones how they came out, but I'm just gonna grab the 4 blues so we can look at them more closely. So one moment. Okay. Navigate around my tripod. All right, so if I remember correctly, I think I have notes. I should have grabbed those before. But this would not be a glitch stitchery video if there was not glitches. All right, here we go. So the largest skein, this one. This one is a lace weight 2-ply, 100% wool, and it was 110 grams of yarn. So this one I dyed in bright aqua. Now the interesting thing is that I did not add anything else to it. It was just the bright aqua and the acid and hot water. All the dye struck. I did have to shake it up a little bit. But the interesting part is that the dye broke, and it definitely had some green in it. The part touching the bottom of the jar was entirely green, and then everything else ended up with shades of blue. I didn't really expect that to happen, but it is interesting, so it's something to keep in mind. I might try doing this color again with a kettle dyed method just to see if the green still breaks or if it's going to be combined. So there's that one. And then I have my 3 skeins of wool mohair blend. see, these are, what was it? I think it was 50% wool, and then, no, 60% wool and 20% mohair, 20% silk. So the lightest one right here is the Frozen, and that one came out about how I expected. There wasn't that much dye in it technically compared to the other ones. Frozen is just not as dark a color. The part that touched the bottom ended up with deeper color to it, but for the most part it's pretty pale. And then we have Caribbean Blue, which I love. I love this color. I love how it came out. And there was a lot of Caribbean Blue left over, and that ended up added to the wool down there, along with the ton of magenta that was left over. And that's why the resulting superwash fiber is so purple. So the Caribbean Blue plus the deep magenta created that incredibly gorgeous purple down there. So I'm definitely going to be playing with that to see if I can recreate it, because I want to use that. It's gorgeous. And then finally we have the Spearmint Breeze, which mentally I was assuming was more of a mint blue, I guess, but it's definitely a green. Kind of a boring green, honestly. So not terrible, but not my favorite green either. Alright, so that is everything that I dyed this week. I'm hoping to do 2 dye days a month, so you can expect a lot more dyed yarn and fiber in the future. And then once my shop is set up, a lot of these dyed yarns will start showing up in the shop. Alternatively, some of the stuff I make is going to be used as warps for future weaving projects, so you'll see them again in that way too. But that about finishes it up for this week. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.